Hey, what's up everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I guess things are working out as they're supposed to work out, because she said that she didn't have any rooms available, but one will be opening around 12. Probably won't be clean till like 2. Before I come down to the 7-Eleven, find out the ATM is not working. So what I may do is just go all the way down to the police station, make that long little hour and a half walk, whatever it's about to be, and that might kill some of the wait time, because the wait time right now is like 10:45 or something like that. So that might be the way to go. I left my stuff there, of course, as I always do underneath the stairs when I have these type of weights. So I think that might be actually what I have to do, just go all the way down there. But I also have some things to buy at Target, and I didn't bring my backpack. Actually, I only have one thing I must buy, and that's my water boiler. Freaking water boiler broke. So that's going to be needed to assure that I can boil for oatmeal and stuff like that. I can't put that off at all. So I could get the money here, but that's going to cost me, and I really don't want to spend any money to get money out. So that's what your boys got going on right now. I'm kind of out of the way for that walk, since I had to come down to 7-Eleven. It's like walking in the other direction than where the police station is. So it's gonna be a nice long walk to the police station if I do decide to do that. But yeah, I had a good night, slept well for the most part. I think I did anyway. I tossed a little bit, turned a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. Comfortable for the most part. Same old same. And now we're just hopeful that we can get into that room. She'll reserve it for me since I've already claimed it. She said it's the only one opening up today, so I really needed to do that, or this is gonna get weird for me. But all in all, I woke up with the mindset of new things, since I need to purchase a new boiler, I need to purchase a new bag for myself. The backpack I regularly carry around is fine, but the other one that I usually put bigger things in, it's no longer serviceable at this point. So it was good. It worked well enough for me to get my stuff back over here, but the strap snapped yesterday on the way to the motel. So over this next 3-week period, I will be purchasing a new duffel type thing. I'd like to purchase the same one over again. I wouldn't mind doing that, but it probably something a little more heavy duty is probably better for more wear and tear, since I move around so much. So yeah, man, just new things. That's what the Lord put in my heart. He's like, yo, since you're thinking about new things that you need to purchase, let's talk about a new mindset, talk about new everything, new attitude, new approach, new concepts. And so that's what I'm just thinking about. Not necessarily having any new ideas per se, but welcoming the idea that new things could potentially be coming, and that the Lord is ready for me to be ready for new things. So that's kind of what came to mind. And also the concept that we often talk about, the enemy of God is not a creative. He doesn't tend to try new things. He doesn't create anything. He just goes with what works. And I think about how temptation and things like addiction tend to recycle the same things into your life, things that you have to continue to welcome into your life. They're not new. It's nothing new. But your addiction has a repetitive nature to it. You have to keep going back to it. Certain types of temptations, you keep running to the same type of women, you keep running into the same type of men, whatever your thing is. It's always, if the devil's trying to coerce you into a uncomfortable reality, chances are he's going to use something that he's used before, because he's not a creative. He ain't about to come up with nothing new. He's going to look at what worked in the past and he's going to do it again. So, and you think about the spiritual connotation. I don't know if the connotation is the word, but correlation is the word I'm looking for, between addiction and spirituality. That's what came to mind as I was thinking about new things. Like, if you're trying to figure out if there's something spiritually vicious taking place when a person is tempted by addiction, or tempted by temptation, or finding themselves relapsing into addictions. that's what I wrap my mind around. That's what the Lord put in my heart to say, yo, that's where spirit and these type of behaviors ultimately meet, is the understanding that the devil is putting them in your life, and that's the imprint of that being the case is the fact that it keeps being the same type of thing or the same thing over and over again. Like, that's how you know it comes from the devil, because it ain't nothing new. So that's the concept that came to mind this morning as I was pondering new things. You see how the Lord will put new things in your life, new concepts in your life. The devil will keep recycling old stuff, anything that he thought worked, anything that he's deemed successful. Here he come again, trying the same stuff over and over again. That's his trait. He does that because he can't create. So that's what came to mind, man. I just wanted to share that concept with you all. Pondering how we can welcome new things into our lives. Pondering how we can be of a new attitude. Think positive thoughts that ultimately can be, kind of correlated around new passions, new ideas, new optimism for change, good change coming into your life in whatever form the Lord would allow and would introduce into your life. So yeah, that's what's been kind of floating around in my head today, and just welcoming the new things, letting God bring forth what is best and what is blessed in that regard. I ain't got to go about thinking about old stuff. Let's focus on doing new things. Let's focus on allowing for the possibility of positive change incorporating itself into our brains. That's what comes to mind. I think that, all in all, there's so much good that can be done when we welcome new things into our lives that are of positive change, as I'm kind of just babbling at this point. But don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to welcome the Lord to pull you out of a situation that you've been in for a long time. Or I think that changes can be scary for a lot of people, especially those like me who are monotonous in our behavior, monotonous in how we operate, tend to do well when everything's in the same place every day. Don't be afraid to incorporate new cycles into your life, because every cycle that you've had to be introduced into your life anew. Anything that you're now used to was once something that you had to get used to. And so, with that being said, maybe there's something better, and maybe your fear is keeping you, or your comfort is keeping you from incorporating it or introducing it into your own life or whatever. So that's really a message for myself and anybody who needs to either break a cycle or is hesitant to welcome change, or someone who's ultimately kind of afraid of what life looks like when things are not what they've always been, or even if you're in a space where you're being forced out of what your comfort zone is. It may be time to welcome a change of scenery. I think about people who, because of natural disasters, are now forced to leave their home. Sometimes the elderly, they say, I'm going to stay in this home even though the flood is coming. That mentality is rough. I can't relate to that. But what I can say is welcoming new things into your life sometimes can bring about blessings that you don't even know you will love, Sometimes you needed to see something new. Sometimes you needed to get out of that old house. And yeah, you may miss that old house. Yeah, you may miss that old circumstance. Yeah, it may not be as comfortable for you in the new space, but you will get used to it, and you will welcome blessings that aren't even possible right now because of your willingness to incorporate something new or to move on from something comfortable. So don't be afraid to let God take over your path when He's decided He wants something new for you. When He's lined it up so perfectly for you to receive something good, and you're afraid to let go of something old. That's not for your betterment. If He's put something in your path that He's put in your heart that He wants you to have, resisting only aligns you with what's worse for you, not what's best in that regard. So if He has something new for you, welcome it. Be comfortable with the idea that, yeah, you don't know what's coming, but you can trust that He's gotten you through everything you've been through before. So He must have an intention to get you through what's ahead. Or maybe you staying in this space will make it so that He's not able to. Maybe that you stay in this space and make it so that the worst of things will come your way, rather than you continuing to be comfortable. Maybe it does get uncomfortably ripped out from underneath you, if not for you initiating the change first and deciding, yeah, I'm going to take something new on for a change. I'm going to welcome a different path for myself, rather than staying here waiting for the one I'm used to disintegrate underneath my feet. Because that's what I ended up experiencing in my life more than enough times to know that initiating your own change is probably the way to go, rather than to stay somewhere too long, holding on to old loves and stuff like that, holding on to the wrong person for too long. When you know them red flags, and you know that the universe is setting it up for you to understand that, yo, this is not the right situation for you. This person don't want the same things you want. This person's not likely headed in the same direction you're going, or that they are kind of distancing themselves without actually moving away from you. It's time to move on. Sometimes we're afraid to move on because we don't know if we're going to find something else. We don't know if what's around the corner is safe. We don't know if we're going to be okay if we do. But I can assure you, if the signs are telling you that the situation is changing, whether you're leaving or not, the people that you're attached to or the person you're attached to is changing, then you're going to get what comes with moving on uncomfortably, even if you don't leave. You could potentially be left. And that's something that a lot of people don't actually fear that much when they have it in their mind that they're afraid to leave. That potentially you leaving isn't going to hurt half as much as you being left. And if this person ain't right for you and you realize it, you leaving may be the lesser of two evils in regards to what the path holds in front of you. Staying in a relationship too long could bring about certain scenarios that create a trauma that is unnecessary. This person ain't for you. So why stick around and wait for them to cheat and you find them, and you know what I mean? Or for that domestic violent circumstance to arise into a physical space. Hey, you knew before that. You were just allowing your fear to have you hanging around that person any longer. You knew early on that person wasn't evenly yoked with you, but you stuck around because you were afraid you weren't going to find nobody else. Because you were afraid you were too old to find somebody else, so that you would it would be too difficult to start dating again. Or it would be too much for you to, bring about somebody new around your kids or whatever your circumstance would be. Kind of using them as an excuse for why that situation needed to be held on to. It ain't for you to ignore your faith when conundrums like that are in your face. Because essentially what you're saying, though you may not be consciously thinking it, the message you're sending to the Lord is that I don't trust you, God. I don't trust you. I got to stick with this for which don't feel 100% right for me, rather than to trust that you're going to bring something that is right for me. I'm more skeptical of the concerns that come with embracing change, rather than I am trusting in you that you will bring about the change that is best for me. That's what you're telling me. Like, God, I'm more skeptical that the person I bring around ain't gonna be right for my kids, rather than I am trusting you in regards to you telling me it's time to move on from who we are attached to. You're more afraid of the world than you are trusting of God. And that, I think, defeats the purpose of a lot of what this life experience is all about for us believers. If you don't believe in God in the first place, then obviously this doesn't apply to you at all. But if you believe in God, wouldn't it make the most sense to trust him when you need him the most, rather than to trust him on little things, and when it's time to make big decisions on your life, suddenly you are more of a believer in the world than you are in the divine? And why do you believe in the divine? Divine is supposed to take care of all things, not just some things. He's supposed to be trustworthy in all circumstances, not just the ones that you can palate paths going one way or another. When the stakes are most high, you lose your faith. Why? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves when we suffer from that. And I was looking at something online today. A man was commenting. I don't remember. It was some athlete had said something spiritual. He said he'd rather hold on to Jesus than worry about a contract or something. I don't remember what it was, but I guess he was responding to Jaden Ivey, who's been expressing his beliefs in faith lately and got him in a lot of trouble, got him waived from his team and all that. This person was kind of piggybacking that in a way, in his own way. And I saw in the comment section in response to that person, essentially the comment was, this person is delusional for their belief in a greater God, a greater entity than themselves. Delusional. They think it's crazy. Well, what came to mind as I was sitting there thinking about all these different thoughts this morning, kind of having the idea of what's new in my head, the word that the Holy Spirit gave me was, that's a spiritual deficiency. It's a spiritual deficiency that person who commented that is suffering from. In response to someone believing in the real God, they essentially apply a lack of faith and a certainty to that lack of faith that isn't backed by anything they can actually prove. Because at the end of the day, God is real, so how can you prove that he's not? But they're so certain in their being alone on this earth that they apply their pessimism for a greater purpose and a greater being above them to somebody else who's displaying a certain consistency in belief in something that is in existence. It's a spiritual deficiency that you can't feel something in this earth outside of what it is that you can touch and see and use with your most physical senses. Something that you can feel with your most fleshy senses, so to speak. That's not a direct correlation between your senses and what is. It's a deficiency so that to express that you can't feel what is there. There's something wrong there. You're not blessed with the sense to feel the spirit as it exists in the world always. It's a spiritual deficiency. Don't apply your spiritual deficiency to me, because you have spiritual limitations and you don't believe in what it is I feel every day, that God is real and that he's trying to guide me, for which has already been proven time and time again, for which the enemy is constantly showing us evidence that he believes, because he's constantly using the people that he controls to directly oppose the living God. If the living God doesn't exist, why is there so many people trying to give him the finger? and look, that's not even to speak to all the people who are praising God and living righteously. That's to speak to the enemy's acknowledgement of something greater than himself that he resents. A lot of people are looking for proof of a living God in believers like myself. But you can find proof of a living God in demons. Because they go out of their way to step on their own interests to align with the enemy of God. You can see that in the world today. People making themselves look foolish so that they can sacrifice human beings to the enemy of God. There are many people around here, if you're paying attention, whether they believe in God or believe in the enemy of God, they're showing you that there's something to that by way of what it is they're doing in defiance of a living God. It's sort of parallel to the statement that I've made in the past, where I'm not looking at human beings for compassion. I can look at animals and find out how best it is to garner respect in regards to how your reputation is built when you treat people with kindness and support and compassion. You can see that in the animal kingdom. How one will save another. How one species of animal will take the baby of another species and can protect it until its mother arrives, or take it as its own. That's compassion. I don't have to look for a human being to show me that. I can see that in other species. That's to know the difference between right and wrong. And so too is to understand that there is something to this spirituality. I can look at what our American government's doing right now and the Israeli government's doing right now and see that there's something to the idea that a living God exists, because they're doing everything they can to spite him. Most people are privy to more than what the average person is privy to. And they spend a great deal of what it is they're trying to accomplish spiting God. If there is no God, then why do those who understand and have more and know more than the average person do so much to defy said God? If he didn't exist, why are they trying to fight him so bad? Why are they going out of their way so hard to destroy what it is he's put together? Why they go out of their way to discredit his name and sully the reputation of each of his major religions? They appointed him and worship him. Try to turn people away from him. If he doesn't exist, why am I wasting any time doing that? You see anybody trying to sully the name of the Easter Bunny? Of the Tooth Fairy? You see people going out of their way to discredit Darth Vader or Bowser from Mario Brothers? No. Fictional characters that harbor no existence need no pressure from anyone to be considered discredited or irrelevant in what it is that they're teaching. No one's trying to go around telling you not to believe in something that isn't. There's no one out here trying to wage war against that for which they do not believe or know for a fact exists. Least of all nations and entire religions. And if you're looking for evidence of a living God, you can look at his believers and you can look at his enemies. Their efforts in his direction will give you more evidence than you would necessarily need in a lot of cases. This is a new concept that the Lord put in my heart right now. It's not something I don't think I've mentioned on this channel very much, if at all. And it's something that I think is new in regards to my thinking, to say, not only do I believe in God, but I see the evidence of the war that he's involved in. I see the evidence of people who have more than me, who are educated better than me, who have privy to more surveillance. They're able with what it is that they have to see more than I'm able to see. And what they're proving to me is that they're at war with something that apparently, if I listen to the spiritually deficient, does not exist. They're spending billions of dollars and sacrificing numerous lives so that they can bring pleasure to the enemy of that which doesn't exist. They're going out of their way to send people to their doom, to do spiritual things against an entity that doesn't exist. And I tell you, when I've prayed at times, or in certain situations where I've experienced the paranormal, I've gotten the proof that I need to know that there's more to life than what it is that I can touch and feel. When I open my mouth and I speak in this camera about certain things that I think are coming to pass, even though I don't have any true evidence to know what's coming, I'm trusting that voice inside of me that speaks through me to you. And then when I look back on some of those videos and they age very well, the very thing that I said I thought was coming would actually happen, it becomes a proof of something greater than myself that's driving a purpose greater than myself to reach more people than I can actually see, so that things can occur through them that I have nothing to do with. And a lot of us, because we can't think outside of our bubbles, or because we think the world around us is about us, I saw something that a lady posted this morning. She was saying, if life isn't about me, then who is my life about? In other words, don't tell me that my life is about somebody else when I'm the only one living. And it's like, do you not understand how many different things you affect that have nothing to do with you just by moving in one direction or another, suggesting one thing or another? She gave birth to a good portion of the conversation we're having right now, and she doesn't even know it's being had. But she thinks the only thing that matters in her circumference is herself. The only thing that matters and the only thing that happens in her life is what it is she can touch, feel, and see. But she doesn't realize that she gave me a branch of what it is that we're speaking about right now, for which she will likely never see. Attached to a person that she's never met in person. Speaking to people that she likely never heard of whom will watch my video and understand what we're talking about. There are many things that you affect that have nothing to do with you. There are many things that are attached to your movements and your decisions that affect other people. There are many degrees of separation that you have from entities of power in one way or another that you may not even realize. A simple suggestion could change the mind of somebody who's going to affect a big thing tomorrow or what have you. And the notion of that should give you some responsibility to make sure that what is coming out of you that is something that you can properly affect others with. This is why I often say that I ask the Lord to filter everything that comes out of me through Him, a concept that came to me about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and we talked extensively about that. I've been keeping that up, asking the Lord as often as I can think to do so, to filter what comes out of me, to filter my body language, my energy, my tone, my words, because that energy that's inside of me is going to affect somebody else. Now, what it is that I'm talking about may spark the mind of somebody else. What it is I suggest may spark the mind of somebody else. The attitude that I may show somebody else may then have them turn around and affect somebody else with that, for which is a response to my attitude. Good and bad. And give somebody a break, that lightens their heart. They give somebody else a break. You be a hard case with one person, they walk away from you with an attitude and they treat somebody else harshly. I mean, these things have a reverberating effect across the earth. And if you understand energy, then you know that you can literally receive the same energy you put out. I think of a movie that came out when I was a kid. I don't remember the name of it. I really don't remember the name of it. But I think it had Denzel Washington in it, maybe. But the character essentially was in the world with an energy that ultimately shifts from one person to the next upon touch. A spirit, a demon that shifts between human beings upon touch. So if you bump somebody, that spirit goes into them. They bump somebody, that spirit goes into them. That's not too far away from what reality is. May not be necessarily that same characteristic or that same spirit. But if you're going to be, as I said in my example, rude to somebody, there's a damn good chance that same rude energy is going to rub them the wrong way, and it's going to put them in a position where they're going to be rude to somebody else. That's more so how it works. It ain't going to be like in the movie where that same personality trait literally passes from one person to the next to the point where each person that is touched is suddenly singing some song that the other one sang. It's not like spirit to that degree, but it's in that ballpark. And so I say that to say we harbor some responsibility to what it is that we put out. And if you believe in a living God and you trust that he's looking to use you properly, then you can ask him to filter what it is that you put out. And as we ask that we lean on his understanding, so too can we ask that he assure that we're conveyed properly. I speak of wanting God to make it so that whatever it is I stumble into is favorable to what it is that he's ultimately trying to do. Speaking of wanting to be in the right place at the right time. I often say that in one of my things that I often speak. I want to be in the right place at the right time and the right mind to make my light shine and to allow others an opportunity to shine along with me. Because those things sometimes are outside our control. Sometimes people find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. And because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time, they get the wrong results that they welcome into their lives or that ultimately come their way. And things are outside our control. And so, if you believe in a living God and you want to train yourself to lean into what his instincts would be for you, then I think it's a safe bet that he would be willing to give you the tool to do that if you ask for it. And so I ask him to put me in the right place at the right time in my right mind. I ask him to filter everything I have to say to others through him so that for which comes out of me could be righteous and true. I ask for favor and alignment and timing and tools from which to use to work with and endure the realities of whatever circumstances I may find myself in. Because I believe in something greater than myself, and I believe that there's a purpose to my existence other than me just taking on whatever I want and then dying someday. And it's not just a blind belief, but the proof is there if we're smart enough to see it. The proof is right in front of us. If it were a snake, it would bite a lot of us because we don't see it. But it's nestled deep in the concept of what it is that you put out can ultimately be placed into other people and ultimately return to you. We think about the spiritual conversation surrounding addiction and how the devil continues to use the same thing over and over again in so many different concepts, including trying to tempt human beings. And we also talk about the spiritual correlation between finding ourselves in difficult positions and not handling it very well, and how the devil's always trying to use confusion and disillusion and all different types of energy that is no good to destroy us. He's always trying to put us in a position where we're believing lies and then therefore stumbling into circumstances that are no good. believing things that are not real, or measuring things the wrong way, or prioritizing things the wrong way, and then welcoming concepts into our lives that only come from doing it that way. So confusion. The devil is a liar, a deceiver, and looks to bring forth chaos, confusion, and disorder. He'll tempt you with the same things over and over again, but he wants to spin you into a space of chaos. That's the irony of it. A chaos that brings you new things at times, but nothing good. Sporadic randomness, no correlation from which to kind of grasp, no patience from which to grasp. Just a chaos about yourself that he wants to put in your life through the lies that he wants you to believe, through the concepts that he wants you to live by, that don't welcome good things, that don't have you stumbling into positivity, that don't have you in the right place at the right time, but otherwise in the wrong place, the wrong time, with a distracted mind. Feeling desperate without a faith attached to that desperation, or irate without any patience attached to that, without any discernment attached to that. He wants to have you spinning out of control, and then he wants to bring something your way that ultimately you're not going to handle very well when you're in that mindset. Difficult circumstances that God can give us tools to handle. And I talked about something very recently. A lot of us believe our spirits are damned. We did too much. We went too far in angering the Lord for too long. Redemption may be coming, but the punishments are gonna outweigh a lot of our future, because that's how much bad we did. We believe in the concept of karma, and you're looking for the use and doing anything good. You're looking for the use and being a good person, knowing that your soul is damned, knowing that you ain't gonna have a good path forward. But see, there comes a certain sacred relationship between creator and created. As to say, who's responsible for punishing you? Who's responsible for coercing you toward what it is you deserve? Who's responsible for your suffering, for the actions that you engaged in against others or against him, or both? It's just one entity. And you can listen to the spirits, you can listen to the prophets, you can listen to the preachers, you can listen to the ancestors, you can listen to whoever you want to listen to. But it's his choice that ultimately it all boils down to. It's his decision what happens to you. So talking directly to him and appealing to what it is that he wants you to do is your path. As the Lord told me once before, keep your eyes on me through whatever you go through, and I will see you through it. I'll see you through the fall. If you look away, you will get lost. But if you keep your eyes on me, I'll get you through it all. And when you keep your eyes on him, even as a person who's done wrong, even as a person who suffers addiction and sin, even as a person who's got ways that are not right, when you decide to focus your eyes on him, it'll give you the tools to endure what it is that's coming your way. He'll give you the ability to redeem yourself if he chooses. He'll give you the tools to endure what suffering you've ultimately welcomed in your life with your sin nature and your choices. He'll make you strong enough to endure the flames of the hell that ultimately you've earned for yourself. Or he may just decide to wipe away your sins entirely, as promised through the Holy Spirit, and give you a fresh new way forward. Maybe he won't send you to hell. Maybe he just bring you back here to do it differently next time. But if you have a relationship with him, at least you'll be connected to what it is that he wants to do for you. Rather than you be stumbling into a compounding of more mistakes in otherwise regards. As to say, because you don't believe that there's any redeeming qualities, or because you don't believe in God, but you continue to anger God, you're going to continue to compound that by doing more of the same all the way to the grave. And suddenly you're being punished by somebody you don't know, who knows everything about you. It's just not the only path to take for those who believe their spirits are damned. It's not the only way forward. You want a relationship with God. You want to get in good with the warden. You want to have favor amongst the guards in the prison. You see what I'm saying? A lot of us think that way in regards to our lives, but we don't think that way in regards to our spirits. So it's to say that because we've done so much wrong, we don't think we can connect to a living God, or we don't think he'll listen to us, or we don't believe that there's any use in ceasing our egregious behavior and starting anew. But that's what he put in my heart to share with you, that it is purposeful. It is greatly appreciated that you start anew, that you start over, that you stop the behavior that ultimately offends him and begin the relationship that ultimately gives you the strength to look at things differently than the way that you've been looking at them all your sinful times. Maybe you're in a space where you're addicted to sin, but there's a new day tomorrow. Come back and try again. You may have fell off the wagon, but the wagon has steps so you can climb back on it. You may have had a relapse in your behavior in regards to your addiction, but guess what? Tomorrow's a new day and you're going to do better next time. Believe that first and then see what happens. You may be in the space of sin, but you know what the Lord put in my heart? He said, ask for that voice that you rely upon. Request it. Request the voice of consciousness that can tell you, hey, you can do it. It's not just about punishment to sin. It's about encouragement away from it as well. You can have both. You can have both. God, I'm used to doing things the wrong way over and over and over again. All right, well, I'm inviting you to do things a new way. I'm inviting you to hear the voice that I'm telling you to say, you're going to do better next time. You'll see. Look at this encouragement that I'm instilling in you to say, yeah, you did things wrong the last 100 times, but next time we have a different confidence, a new confidence, and we're going to do it differently this time. We have a new way forward. I believe in you differently today, and because you can hear me, that's all you need to behave differently tomorrow. And you're only going to get that from the strength of being willing to start a new relationship. You've been at war with all this time, so you couldn't hear how he was on your side all that time. How he suffered when you lost. How he rejoiced when you succeeded at doing things the right way. How he rejoiced when he saw you wake up the next morning. You didn't see him rooting for you. You were too busy looking at the devil, who hated God for loving you. Who hated you for existing. And lied to you every way forward, telling you that there was no use in doing anything new because he wasn't creative enough to do anything new with his existence. He wasn't strong enough to establish a relationship with God that coerced him into being any good at all. And he wanted you to suffer the same fate that he was locked into because he wasn't strong enough to start anew. Stand tall. You're stronger than the devil. If you're in a position to be in the right place to hear this message, then obviously the Lord wanted you to hear it. You're stronger than the devil. You don't have to suffer his fates. You don't have to embody his failure and his pessimism. You can start a new relationship with God, and you can ask God to encourage you toward behavior that tumbles forward anew, rather than the same behaviors that ultimately brought you the karma that ultimately is no good for you. The consequences that ultimately you don't welcome in your life, or the lives of the people you affect with your energy, or the people that you're trying to raise in your household. And Lord, I suffer this. I struggle with that. I can't tell man, but I can't hide nothing from you, so there ain't no sense in me hiding it in my prayers. This is what I'm going through, and this is what I'm having trouble changing. Can I have that voice of encouragement? Can you give me those tools to deal with these circumstances? Can you help me with what it is I need help with, so that I can stop doing what it is that you don't appreciate? Yes, you can punish me, but I want to stop. I was fearful enough, but my habits and my conditioning is what is not working to align with you, Father. And I need something other than punishment, other than fear, to help me be right, to help me align with the behavior that ultimately will welcome the right things into my life. Can I get that voice? Can I have that consciousness? Can I have that conscience? I don't see this thing the right way. There's something awry in my thoughts. I don't see this the right way. Everybody else sees it this way. I see it that way, and I'm struggling with it. I want the consequences of seeing things the right way, but it don't come naturally to me. Can you give me what I need? Can you coerce me into a space where I can live without what it is that I believe I need, so that the behavior can align with what it is that you would want from me, so that I'm not welcoming punishment into my life? I'm sick of being punished, Lord. I may like what I'm doing, but I'm tired of constantly getting booted around for doing it. Something's got to give. That's what the Lord put in my heart. You start anew, man. Give him some inclination that you want what comes with stopping the behavior that you need to stop doing in order to stop being punished. You know you've already done enough that welcomes so much punishment. You don't want an eternity of punishment. And you know on the path you on, you're about to welcome it into your life. But you can't stop because your conditioning is failing you in that regard. Your urges fail you in that regard. Your energy, your way of looking at the world, it fails you in that regard. You don't see the use. You're using your best discernment and you don't see the truth. I need something new. I was raised wrong. The people I was raised with taught me the wrong stuff. I think about Pooh Shiesty, his situation. He just got out of prison for doing something incredibly stupid. He immediately, within months of being released, him and his father do something stupid, get caught, back to prison, he's going. He wasn't raised right. His daddy and him were involved in the same stupidity. They both going to prison for the rest of their lives because they couldn't see clearly. Pooh Shiesty's environment didn't provide him the truth as to what would get him what he's looking for so that he could sustain it. He had a talent for this rap. He had a talent for gathering others to listen to what it is he had to say. But he didn't get to display it very long because his conditioning failed him. Because the cultures that are in his mind failed him. Because the conditioning of those who raised him failed him. They taught him how to do things the wrong way. Never had a chance. Some of us understand that for whatever way the Lord allows, we understand that we were never given a chance and we was raised wrong. And whatever's in our head ain't telling us to be outraged at things we should be outraged about. And we prioritize the wrong things. We've heard BDF tell us, yo, money ain't everything. And maybe you believe that because you can see somebody who don't have money be happy. You see the people in your life who have it ain't happy. You see the people who strive to get it the most not live very long or not stay free for very long. Or give up their souls in order to get it. And you heard of those concepts. And you want something new. That's when you turn to a living God and you say, I want to hear that voice that BDF hears. I want to hear that voice that the Prophet Muhammad heard. I want to hear that voice, whatever it is that's in them, those people, not to compare myself, but I'm just saying people who have a conscience and a connection to a living God in whatever way they do. You want that too. You don't want to be in the dark. You don't want to be spiritually deficient. You can't necessarily feel the spirit, but you're vibing what is being said, and you certainly see the consequences of doing things the wrong way. You want to know of something that ain't in your head, something new that's going to bring you what it is that they have or that they ultimately are talking about. You want a relationship with something greater than yourself that could coerce you toward favor outside of your control. And something that's going to have you stumbling into the right things. Something that if you choose one way or another, you're going to get good either way because you followed down the path this thing had you on. That's what you want. Not what the world is trying to coerce you into as it worships the devil and sacrifices babies to children for the sake of its own deception. No, you want something that's going to align you with the opposite of that so that you can give forth good energy to whatever's to come, whatever the future going to bring. You want good favor. You want to enjoy your days. You want to have a promise of a fruitful afterlife and a sustainable legacy. Not one that's going to be teaching the lesson of what not to do, but more so one that's going to teach people a lesson of how things went when you did things the right way. How things went when you incorporated things in your life anew. Instead of going with the cultures that were meant to drag you down within. Your mama never heard of that. Your daddy never heard of that. Your homies never heard of that. People who were influencing you through a culture never heard of that. But you heard of it somehow. So now you have some idea that there is a different way than what it is that all those people heard of. And you can take that path. You can hear that voice. And you can bring in something new. So that's what I want to say to people, man. That's what the Lord put in my heart today. We're talking about something new. I ain't necessarily sure what it is. But we do know we want something different. We do know that we don't want to suffer the fate of those who didn't know no better, who all went off the same cliff. I don't want to die like them. I don't want to suffer like them. I don't want to be in disgrace like them. I don't want to be shunned like them. You understand what I'm saying to you? I want something new. I want something different than these people got going on for themselves. I don't want that fate. They all suffered. They all died. I don't want that fate. They all lived for nothing. They all coerced down a path that wasn't best for them. I don't want that fate. And so that's what I'm telling y'all, man. There is a way. I'm not special. Human beings are not special in that regard. We can all start the path of welcoming new conditioning into our lives as it pertains to a relationship with God. It's a little weird talking to something that you don't believe is there. It's a little strange when you don't feel nothing spiritually around you. You ain't never seen through your third eye. You ain't never felt no hairs pop up on your arms when you walk into a certain room. You hear of people talking about that stuff, but that's crazy to you. All you know is what you can touch. All you've heard of is what is money and what is substantial, and everybody gonna die, and that's it. And when they die, it's dark. You don't know of the spirit. That's okay. You don't believe. That's all right. You don't see air, but yet you breathe. You smell that? That's air. That's oxygen. It's in place. It's going in and out of your body, keeping you alive. If it goes away, you don't have much longer to live. And yet you don't see it. You can't necessarily grasp it with your hand. Your heart's beating outside of your control. You need it to continue beating. Can you will it to stop? Is it possible that it no longer beats? Yes, of course it's possible that it no longer beats. Do you have any control over that at all? No. You can't make it drum a different pattern. You can't will it on and off like a light switch. But you got to trust it's going to continue doing what it's doing in order to keep you alive. That faith that your heart going to keep beating, that air is still going to continue to be present for you to breathe. That's the same faith that is present to you in regards to something greater than you that made it so that oxygen is there for you to breathe. Made it so that your heart continues to beat. You live in faith even though you don't realize it. You rely upon things greater than yourself, the outside of your control, even though you are not cognizant of it. Or you don't consider it when considering taking that a step further and believing something greater than yourself that made all of that possible. And the world around you will coerce you into thinking that you are absolutely deficient for believing in something greater than yourself, but it won't tell you that you're deficient for believing that air can continue to beat in your lungs, or that your heart will continue to beat regardless of whether you're thinking about it or not. But you can trust that if it stops, you will no longer be able to survive. You can trust that. By way of that logic, they're going to tell you that there's no such thing as a heartbeat. That there's no such thing as air. And that you are delusional for even believing that such a thing exists. Or that if your heart stops, you can still exist. Or if air is zapped from this environment, that you would still be able to survive and breathe somehow. By way of that logic, you can convince yourself of many things, ignoring many things, following down paths that are plenty false, believing it wholeheartedly, neglecting many truths that come together to make it so that this is possible, that you exist to hear what I'm saying. What I'm seeing is people waging war against the heart, waging war against oxygen. And then telling everybody that oxygen doesn't exist and that the heart is not needed to beat in order for people to continue to exist. That's what I see. And how ridiculous that is to me. Bdf 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.